This is freaking awesome. I love it. This is so cool. All right. So you guys already know, because you're here, what this is. Let's see. Can I actually see this thing? And I can see my stream set. Wow, this is amazing. I couldn't see this last night. Thank you so much. Thanks, John. I don't know how long it's going to be tonight, because actually 5 minutes ago became my anniversary. So my wife is upstairs, and I definitely want to spend some time with her, but I wanted to go through this because I had so much fun last night. I want to do this again. So we got some pretty cool articles and some good articles going on over here. Again, I appreciate everybody coming on in, and this is really cool. So we've got Senate Democrats plotting to keep the Senate in. We've got American Prospect, that's David Dayen stuff. In these times, this is like what we've been talking about, and this kind of plays right into what we're talking about. I haven't seen anybody talk about this article yet. Thank you. Thanks, Dan, on the anniversary. Thank you, everybody. Today was a really exciting day, as everybody probably knows, because I worked with a group of folks to be able to make hashtag replace Pelosi Gen 3 go trend live on Twitter, and I've never done that before. It was exciting to do. We were able to pull something together pretty quickly and organize and really get things going. We got likes by Jimmy Dore. We got retweets by Ryan Knight. It actually was #1 trending on politics, even with the stimulus and everything else going on. So we were pretty pumped about it. Again, we just pulled this together in about 2 weeks. A group of random people that just decided to do something about it. So hopefully it'll take off a little bit, and we'll be able to do some more with it. And then we'll be able to organize and create more of these viral type of campaigns to try to raise awareness and make things go viral, which we're also excited about. So again, we're going to look at the American Prospect. It's kind of funny because my friend Joe Firestone was actually live, and he just went through the same article. So I kind of feel bad going through it. Okay, talking about how Bernie's going to lead a strategy that's going to force them to stay in Washington, which everybody's probably seen something about. We're trying to get the $2,000 payments. He is holding up the military, the NDAA, $740 billion. And basically, what's up, Bones? So basically, until they get their money, that's what, they're going to end up having to stay there. And the question is, are they going to put up the $2,000? Question is will McConnell even call it for a vote? And that's what's going to hold it up. Bernie said if they allow it to come to a vote, then he'll vote for it. Talking about how 44 Republicans joined all but 2 Democrats in the bipartisan vote. Trump repeatedly called for the increase, which we all know, because we all watch everybody that talks about it every day. So Senate was already scheduled to be in session on Tuesday to begin an advance override, which, again, he's holding up until the Cash Act gets a Senate vote, which is awesome. So, again, David Dayen, American Prospect, sometimes on the neo-lib side, but incredibly in-depth, as I'm sure all of you are aware. They didn't do anything today. What a bunch of slackers. Actually, Bernie was standing and holding a filibuster on the floor, holding up the vote for the NDAA. It's McConnell who refuses to bring it to the floor. There's the chance that it might actually pass because there's likely that there are some Senate Republicans and nobody's taken a roll vote. And that's exactly what McConnell doesn't want, is anybody to take a roll vote. So that means as long as senators objects, he can't begin the process of holding votes on the defense bill until Wednesday. So now that's been held up till tomorrow. There has to be an intervening day between that and the final vote, making Thursday the intervening day, and Friday, which is New Year's Day, the intervening final vote, the day of the final vote. So every Senate Democrat is for this much-needed increase. As Schumer said, Schumer's grandstanding. He already voted for the 600. This is all Bernie's doing. This is all Trump's doing, honestly, and I hate to give Trump any credit, but I have to. Ed Markey definitely spoke well. He was on fire today. then there was. I mean, it's really interesting what's happening out there, because again, they were going to pass. They passed that 600. They weren't going to go for the 2,000. Trump said, "No, I'm not going to sign it." It then went. Now that Bernie can hold it up, now that they passed that 2,000 in the House, Senate to the Senate, now it's sitting in the Senate. Now the Senate Republicans, again, I think somebody said 52 Republicans basically decide whether we get $600 or $2,000, and that's exactly what McConnell didn't want. But Loeffler said she would consider voting for it. Perdue hasn't given an answer. If they polled their constituents, again, 78% of the public, they'd be smart if they wanted to win re-election and they actually wanted to win their races, they would actually support this. So he could just decide to allow the floor vote, and you have gotten a few, and it could get 60, which it would need likely to pass. Could get it, but nobody knows. I'm still going to give Trump a little bit of credit because he did threaten to veto the bill if they didn't have the 2,000. So it definitely changed the narrative. Again, I don't like giving him credit, but I still do. So McConnell is the ability to either disavow or disallow, either allow or disallow, with the majority hanging in the balance. Again, it's going to come down to what he thinks about Georgia. If he thinks that they're going to win Georgia without giving out an extra $1,400 a person, and I don't understand what entity on earth is going to tell him that. David Dayen's great. He was on Katie Halper recently. I'm sure all you guys have probably seen that. She's been sharing clips of that. Radical liberal Kelly Love, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, radical liberal. I think it was 11 times in their debate. She said radical liberal Raphael Warnock. So again, in these Times magazine, this is a really good publication. I'll tell you, they put out some really high quality articles. It's referenced quite often on the independent side. They also are subscription based and don't take any corporate money, don't have corporate advertisers, and they hold the powerful accountable. I really enjoy this publication. They even have a channel in our Discord, and I think most of you are in the Discord. But if not, and for anyone that's going to watch this later on, IndependentLeft.gg is the Discord, and I'll drop a link. There now. This is so fun. So, okay, Democratic majority in the House shaping up to be one of the most progressive and partisan as ever as members of the 117th Congress assume. Okay, so while some moderate Dems lost their House seats, the CPC gained members, including Bowman, Cori Bush. Again, they're not even talking about Mondaire Jones, Richie Torres. And Katie Porter's part of that pack, and she's gotten stronger and stronger. I mean, she's just fire. Beltway pundits will bellyache about the death of cross-party comity. All right, in Congress, bipartisanship doesn't serve the interests of the majority of Democrats, especially those who suffer the effects of structural racism, generational poverty. You know what? It's really funny. Joe went through this one too. I think he must have been looking at my paper tonight. So, crowning bipartisan achievements. Forget about the crowning bipartisan garbage that's been going on. It's done nothing but hurt families, especially minorities, and poor people. So fast forward 12 years, we're headed again towards economic catastrophe. But this time we see that the cliff is coming. So we know what to do about that. And anyone that's been following Stephanie Kelton, MMT, they all know that all we would need to do is we have the money to print, that we can basically create all the money that we need as long as we guarantee the money from the federal government. We can essentially print as much as we need and distribute it to whoever we need, and then work on the budgeting from there. Let me move that over. So again, we're back to our In These Times article. One difference between COVID-19 and the Great Recession is that progressives have gotten their act together. Well, sort of, except that there are more of them. How are they organized? Again, well, we'll see. So CPC will no longer be led by two co-chairs. Jayapal takes over as the sole chair. Okay, and another change requires members to vote as a block on issues supported by 2/3 of the caucus. So should a member fail to adhere to this rule at least 2/3 of the time, they could face getting kicked out of the CPC. So that technically enables them to hold their members accountable to actual progressive values and actual progressive policy. Would they? I have no idea, but it sounds nice. Members must attend CPC meetings, respond to requests from the caucus whip, which is now Ilhan. Okay, if they find new rules acceptable, no sweat. Okay, she said she'd rather have people who are committed rather than just people sort of having it as a label. Well, there are some that I think would. Of course, Bowman would greet news of that reform. Anyone on the more progressive side of that caucus would. I would guess that there are probably a few that claim to be progressives that probably aren't. So again, Jayapal entered Congress after a 20-year career as a community organizer also. And again, there are some that feel like she could be a replacement for Nancy Pelosi as speaker, either like in a week or in a term or in 2 or 3 terms. But she's certainly one that, as already the leader of the caucus, as the caucus is growing, we certainly could look to negotiate. So then we have to use an inside-outside strategy like the one she was part of when she got Obama to agree to the DREAM Act. Life is a cruel mistress. That's funny, Nicole. So we have to be the wind behind the sails. That helps them deliver change through executive action. Okay, I guess she's got to say that because they're part of the Democratic Party. All right, so because the majority is so slim, just 13 seats, the United CPC could even extract concessions from House leadership so desperately needed right now. Now, that's really interesting that you say that because that's something that we had trending today, which is to replace Pelosi on January 3rd. Because eviction moratorium, student debt relief, this is great, but it's probably not going to happen under Nancy Pelosi. What we need is a new speaker, and we need fresh blood. And that's what the group I was working with this week to put out tons of material, set a time, and make a plan to have this go viral. Set up an entire network of people. It was a lot of fun. So these types of policies are anathema to party centrists who would rather captain a sinking ship than surrender any control to partisans and steerage. That's also true. They would rather lose to Republicans than concede anything to progressives. And again, Jimmy Dore said that. God, on aggressive progressives, it's got to be 4 years ago. I was actually, watching TYT then and followed Jimmy after he left. I stayed with TYT as well, watched them both, but that was a line I distinctly remember him using. Providing actual economic relief is essential to prevent Democratic losses in the midterms. How much relief they're going to be able to provide, especially if McConnell is in charge of the Senate, is highly debatable because chances are McConnell's going to end up blocking every single thing that they try to put out, just like they did with Obama. I mean, I think you're going to see a repeat of 2009, or actually more like 2013. Although then you had a House that belonged to the Republicans as well, I think. Yeah, they had the House, and then they got the Senate in 2014. So we haven't seen, actually, in a while, a Republican Senate and a Democratic House, other than under Trump. But what's going to happen is, just like under Trump, Nancy's going to send it over in the last 2 years, and it's going to sit on Mitch McConnell's desk and do nothing. That's essentially what we're intending to see. What we can expect to see for the next 2 years. If McConnell wins, if Georgia happens to go Democratic in both seats, which is highly unlikely. And again, this is a Daily Poster article from Sirota and Andrew Perez that they put out today, talking about the $2,000 vote and what that looks like and how that could be damaging to their reelection and to the runoff campaigns that's going to happen. I think it's January 6th. I don't remember the exact date of that. Let's look that up. Georgia runoff election 2020 is January. When? January when? When's it happening? January 5th, Tuesday. So essentially, they've got till Tuesday, and they're probably going to hold this vote if they're going to hold it before the new year. So my guess is that they're probably both going to have to vote yes if they want to keep their seats. But we'll see. That'll be interesting. What do you think? If it goes to a vote, McConnell is he going to tell them it's okay? He's going to give them enough cover that they're going to have enough votes with the Democrats that are out there to kill it? Or is he going to let the $2,000 go? I mean, again, McConnell acts like this is his own money. It's not. It's ours. And he keeps forgetting that, or just doesn't care because it belongs to his donors in his mind, which I know, but it doesn't, of course. So, almost on the nose reflection of America's oligarchy, that the fate of $2,000 survival checks for starving people after 9 months, which is absolutely insulting and ridiculous to begin with. Corporate executive who ran retail chain that preys on low-income communities, and it'll all play out in a state facing rising joblessness, poverty, and starvation. Hilarious. Here we are with Georgia and its Senate races, poised to decide it all. So, yeah, it couldn't be written like a Hollywood screenplay. I mean, Sirota's so good. These guys are so good. They really are. And they churn out stuff like this every day. It's remarkable. And Walker Bragman's over there. They're now bringing in Matthew Cunningham Cook, who's a freelancer. I see he's starting to do some work over there. I could see them expand. I know David's trying to grow that organization. I hope he does, because I need content for this daily, and he churns out really good stuff that's insightful, that exposes corruption, that's corporate free, that's everything that we look for. So yeah, she quickly made lucrative stock trades. We know all about what happened to Loeffler, as if this cartoonish corruption wasn't enough. All right, they're running against an anti-poverty crusader, and Ossoff, a Buttigieg-like Saturday Night Live caricature, right, of a blank slate political candidate who's rightly zeroed in on the issue, calling that $600 proposal a joke, or what they passed. It's not just a proposal. So Loeffler and Perdue are in a position to immediately end this battle now, if they choose to actually use their power. Yeah, he may want to own the libs and economically punish his own destitute state by blocking them. But an even bigger priority is holding on to his job as majority leader, and he's got to win Georgia. That's what I said. It's going to come down to Georgia in the end. If he thinks, Georgia senators have let them stall as their state suffers. So far, they haven't weighed in on it, which is pretty damn remarkable. And anyone who's living in Georgia, if you're watching this, please call their offices like now and ask them why they haven't supported this, because every single phone call of pressure helps. You can look up the phone number for the Senate. Just call the main line for the U.S. Senate. I think it's like 202-224-3121 or something like that. If that's what it is, phone number Senate. You can see I call it pretty often. Senators' phone numbers 202-224 Contact senators. There's the one for every senator phone number. All you have to do is Google it. And then there's a main Senate phone line as well. (224-3121). 202-224-3121. Here, let me put that in. 202-224-3121. For anyone that is in the Georgia area, or even if you're not in Georgia, you can say you live in Georgia and you want them to do that. All right, Georgia Republicans don't seem to care, which is hilarious. Things on Capitol Hill seem to be fluid now that Sanders is using hardball tactics. Suddenly, a few more Republican senators are saying that they would suggest it. So again, Bernie fights for us. I know Josh Hawley was in early on the $600, and Bernie even gave him credit. If the bill fails, it's because Georgia's millionaire senators knowingly allowed their state to starve. All right, saying they support it alone is not enough. Your article shows us they have a lot more leverage that they're not using, and this needs to be mediated. 100% agree with the comment there. It's like that. Yeah. Why stop at 2,000? Why not go for 3,000? Why not go for 5,000? This is another article I haven't seen anybody cover anywhere. Is the International Criminal Court talking about the now simply indefensible decision of the ICC, closing down the investigation into war crimes in Iraq. Ridiculous. Craig Murray, he's a legend. I believe he was a member of parliament, and he might have even been an ambassador at one point. Brilliant writer. So support for the rule of international law, the institutions which uphold it, is one of the principles of this blog. And have therefore always been extremely keen to defend and support the ICC, despite widespread concern that it's simply a tool for use against leaders in the developing world and other opponents of the neocon world order, when it's actually never used against the USA or any other first world nation. We always block the ICC. So how good, what stickiness does it actually have? I maintain the standard of justice and the investigation in the case it did consider was generally good, and the need was to widen its ambit. Unfortunately, they closed down the investigation into war crimes committed by the British in Iraq. Last straw for him. 184-page report, which closes down the investigation, is truly shocking. Shocking, the outlining of British war crimes. But what really shocked him is the appalling picture that clearly emerges in the attitudes of the ICC. Okay, again, wow. Yes, really long, really in-depth. Damn. Yeah, I'm not going to go through this whole thing tonight, but it is incredibly in-depth. Dow McConnell will take the bill to the vote. Trump needs to apply more pressure. Again, it's going to come down to what the polls look like in Georgia on Thursday and Friday, because he's going to stall it all week. I can guarantee he's going to stall it all week. He'll push it to the last minute just to see what else he can extract and how much pain he can inflict and what else he can possibly do with that. This Craig Murray thing is details a dozen paragraphs as bland managerial reassurances that these concerns are unwarranted, result of limited understanding of junior staff, decisions not to prosecute have always taken on the para 386, taken on the advice of external counsel. Yeah, Craig's as good as they come. Craig was one of the people who's been a big advocate for freeing Julian Assange, of which I am as well. Free Julian, please. Set him free. President Trump, if you're ever listening, and I have no idea why or how you ever would, but this made it to you. Free Assange, free Snowden, free Reality Winner, free Free all the political prisoners. Leonard Peltier. This was another one, the brutal governance lessons of 2020 from Project Syndicate. This is a website that Lee Camp actually turned me on to recently because he shared a couple of different articles from this, as well as from Left Voice, a couple of new outlets that started to pay attention to and see what they look like. So they're talking again about vaccinations. Just before the pandemic, a coalition of major foundations published a global health security index that ranked countries' capacity to prevent, detect, and report an infection and to respond rapidly to disease outbreaks. Unsurprisingly, data journalists with status observed at the time, higher income countries tended to record better scores in the index. Topping the list of countries best prepared to deal with a pandemic were the US and UK. And that was before the pandemic. Now, Senegal, with a population of just over 15 million and a per capita GDP of around $1,500, ranked 95th in the GHSI. Yet in January, when the WHO first declared an international public health emergency, Senegal was already preparing. Amazing. As of October, the country had recorded around 15,000 cases and only 300 deaths. So again, this is talking about different countries and how different countries got ahead of the pandemic. And I will probably guess that the one thing, imposing a nightly curfew. Again, I don't know what a nightly curfew really does, other than keeping young kids from making out when they're late at night when they're drunk, honestly. First case on March 2nd, deployed mobile testing units with results in 24 hours. How did they get that stuff? I mean, I guess they didn't need the kind of volume that the United States needed, so you can't really compare. But meanwhile, they had to compete on the world stage with every first world nation for those supplies and for that PPE when nobody could get PPE. So it's, again, pretty remarkable and pretty impressive that they were able to do that and limit it. By April, face masks have been declared mandatory in all public spaces. Again, that's something that you'll see as a common theme. That's what I was going to note. The common theme that you'll find in all of these countries is that they all masked up right away, whether it is what they're talking about here in Africa, in Senegal, in Sri Lanka, in Vietnam. Okay, why did the US and UK fail? A lot of it is that we had depleted our military store, our reserves as far as the masks weren't good, and we had not continued to fund that. And of course, Trump liquidating the task force for pandemic response, I believe in 2018, also didn't help. So each created an infrastructure to manage outbreaks, and each of them also, Vietnam, Sri Lanka had absorbed lessons from SARS and MERS. We really have never dealt with a pandemic at this level, of course, at this scale. Okay, US CDC, Public Health England insisted that it alone should develop and control the testing regime for its jurisdiction rather than going global. That approach failed in both countries, while a more collaborative approach worked in others. So instead of building local networks for contact tracing, which would be useful for future pandemics, UK government outsourced the task to corporate giant Serco and a company named Citel. Anybody who has any money to invest, start looking at those. Yeah, wearing a mask and social distancing too definitely does it. Staying in, there have been conflicting ideas as to how much staying indoors and doing the lockdowns actually helped in March and April and May. We stayed locked down for like more than 90 days. It was pretty rough. It was really 180 days. I mean, we went outside, but it was pretty bad. We live in a house, so we have we're not cooped up in an apartment building, luckily for us, but I can't even imagine what that must be like. So when it came to delivery, CDC, again, public health insisted that it should develop, but we're not doing that. In the end, COVID-19 exposed the weakness of strategies aimed at political popularity rather than at the pandemic. Clearly, look at what happened with the prime minister and the mayor of Manchester, and the president with Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. That woman in Michigan, another one that he has a problem with. Resources didn't flow from the center to the areas where they were needed most. And then the pandemic revealed the urgent need to build connective tissue across governments between national and subnational institutions in US, UK. Totally agree. This is a good article, again, where you can see how different countries around the world actually were successful. This is an awesome video from Jamal Thomas. I highly recommend you guys check it out. Take a look at it. He's talking about using the tactic. It's 35 minutes. I'm not gonna watch the whole thing with you. I'm not gonna go through it, but I did watch it earlier today, and he's right on point talking about how Bernie's using hardball tactics and how he's playing Mitch McConnell's game, and they only respond to strength, so you've got to do that. We've also got Jimmy Dore. I don't know if Nikki is still watching, but Backyard Politics made it into the top 5 tonight. I love her little intro.
Planets on fucking fire.
The best. Okay, Nikki's awesome. She reports on all the cop stuff, all the different fascism, Proud Boy stuff that's going on in the Portland-Salem area. She lives in the Portland-Salem in Oregon, so it's all local politics to her, and it's really helpful to everybody else that's completely outside that area. But that's like the breeding ground for what they're experimenting to do, and it's scary as crap because the fascism within the police force, what they pulled with the U.S. Marshals, disappearing people off the streets during the protests, frightening. And again, how much of that would we have known if it weren't for videos like what Nikki's doing? And that's why it's so valuable. And we've got Lee Camp, of course, redacted tonight. And this is
Hello, I'm Lee Camp.
He's great.
News from behind. A new report from the nonpartisan think tank, the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities.
I'm not going to play. Oh, that's right. I need to turn up my volume. I forgot if I'm going to play any videos because you guys couldn't hear last night.
Found that nearly 78 million adults, about 1 in 3, are having trouble paying for usual household expenses. 1 in 3 American adults say they found it difficult to cover expenses or pay bills in the 7 days prior to that report. 1 out of every 3.
Does that mean failed state?
Does that sound like a system that is working well? Does that sound like a machine that is just humming along beautifully? Does that sound like our citizens are living the American dream?
Sounds still low.
Does it sound like they're living the good life or riding high on the hog? I mean, I bet most of them don't even have a hog. So how can they have a chance to ride high on the hog if they don't have a fucking hog? Step 1, get each of these people a hog. Step 2, teach them to ride it. Step 3, teach them to ride it high.
Nice.
Which is not easy because after you smoke the fat one, it's tough to.
Lee is actually what Bill Maher and Trevor Noah wish they were. That is 100%. Like, he's great.
Keep your balance on the hog. Take it from me. I don't smoke anymore, but I've been super drunk on a hog. That's how I met my wife. No, that's how I divorced my wife. Point being, this system is clearly not working for everyone. It's not just not working for everyone, it's not working for 1 out of every 3 adults. And this is happening while fucking wrinkled-ass Congress people and dickwad state reps do next to nothing to help Americans. They send those earning less than $75,000 a year a few $1,000s, which if you add it up with the first relief check, It equals about $11 per day since the beginning of the pandemic. Fucking yippee hoo-ha! We can buy 2 beers. Not even good ones. The cheap ones that don't even have a brand name. Look, they just say beer. And meanwhile, these same people funnel trillions of dollars to Wall Street. Wall Street's doing fine. They're not feeling your pain. God forbid Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell or the hallowed titans of industry have to go 30 seconds without their personalized ass lickers making sure everything is nice and moist down there. They're not struggling. They're not worried. 1 out of every 3. 1 out of every 3 of us are fucked by this system. And imagine, just for a second, just for a moment, just for an instant, imagine if we all united. Imagine if the entire 33% of American adults, along with anybody else who agrees, so let's say 45, 50% of American society, imagine if we all put our differences aside and fought back together. I get it. I know we don't get along. I know. Half of us spend our weekend fighting with our lawnmowers, and half of us aren't quite sure what a lawnmower is.
Nice.
Half of us think Clifford Blake is the worst country music singer to ever live, completely invented an ideal of a stereotypical American experience in order to appeal to idiot suburban Southerners who long for a time gone by as crooned by a shit singer. And the other half of us know from the bottom of our hearts
that crap out on
Clifford
the
Blake
quality.
is not a real person. I made him up. If he wasn't real, then I rest my case. We are very different, but if the third of American adults got together and said in a noble yet firm tone, "Fuck this shit,"
Nice.
then the amount of change created would be incredible. No movement in recent history in America has had anywhere near a third of the country devoted to it. It would be tens of millions of pissed off adults in the streets demanding a government that actually delivers, a government that actually works for the people instead of the corporation. It would be so fucking powerful. It boggles the mind to even contemplate it. 78 million people. Our bloated politicians marinating in their own corruption would have no choice but to create change immediately. Just put our differences aside. That's all it takes. The sign-up sheet for the group will just have 2 questions on it. 1, have you had difficulty paying your bills? If yes, you're in the club. Number 2, if you answered no to the first one, do you want to help those who have had difficulty paying their bills? If the answer is yes, you're in the club. Done. That's it. If the answer is no to both those, then go fuck yourself. You're not in the club.
Nice.
Go back to picking lint out of your dick hole or whatever parts you have. Okay, so now we have the club of about 90, 100 million Americans. Then we start figuring out a few demands. And we don't shut up and don't go home until they're met. That's it. That's all. That's the whole production. Nobody even starts talking about all the things that divide us.
Hey, Mona.
You're not even allowed to. If you hear someone say, "What religion are you?" then you give them a titty twister. Ah! Or if it's a woman, that do not do that. That is inappropriate. Don't do that. Just if it's a woman, just say don't talk about religion. No one is allowed to ask all of those questions that divide us. What party are you? What's your sexual preference? Who's your favorite football team? Do you think men only belong in the kitchen? Do you care about the environment? Are you circumcised? Do you like drugs? Did you study hard in college? Did you study hard drugs in college? Do you have kids? If no, do you have kids you don't know about? Do you have a sexual fetish for people dressed up like stormtroopers but without pants on? No questions asked that allow everyone to end up divided. 1 out of every 3 struggling adults is struggling, and their allies all get together and standing at Congress's door saying you and your corporate owners have gotten away with exploiting us for too long, enriching yourselves while others suffer for too long, sucking out the bulk of our productive years while grabbing all the wealth for yourselves for too long, lying to us for too long, manipulating us for too long. 1 out of every 3 adults. What would the demands be? I don't know. We should probably figure that out before we get up to the door. Hold on. Talk about this. Well, we could do it. How about things like $15 minimum wage or universal basic income, Medicare for all, a bailout for the people rather than the corporations, no more parking tickets. How about free Slurpees? How about a redo of the final season of Game of Thrones? Whatever we decided, 1 out of every 3 adults, undivided, undeterred, undaunted, unwavering, and unwilling to take no for an answer.
God, how does he do that? Like, just wow. And again, I don't know how much that's scripted, whether he writes it or not. The delivery is just insane. He's so good. I'm telling you, he's so talented. And it's so sad. Nobody knows who this guy is. Like in the grand scheme, talk to anybody in the mainstream. They're like, Lee who? Like, wow. Guy works his ass off nonstop. He is absolutely magic. Bo the Fifth, he's awesome as well. Love this guy. So funny. Knows how to lay it out. I don't know if anybody watches him. John, I also used to use that line before I was married is, do you have any kids? Well, none that I know about, but you never know. That's really funny. Yeah, Lee Camp's delivery is spot on. Bones, you were talking about the studio audience. No, he probably doesn't need a studio audience. The only thing is he probably wants one because he's stand-up and he feeds off of that. And the laughter probably makes him even funnier sometimes. I don't know. So Bo has about stimulus and McConnell and Bernie and Trump. And again, so Jamal actually, he opens up his video. I was going to mention the one thing that he says was that I loved immediately was this absolutely proved that we picked the wrong guy or that America picked the wrong guy because most of us picked the right guy and then we got shafted, which is why we're right here on this live stream right now, because that guy got shafted and I got pissed off. And I said enough is enough. And I'm putting together this paper. And then it's evolved and grown. And it's pretty unbelievable. Lee Camp. Yeah. He said in that video he was divorced. I didn't know that. And it kind of seemed like with the live streams that he was with Eleanor Goldfield that they do on the weekends. They're adorable with each other, by the way. But apparently they're not together and they're just two funny, cool people that do a good show together. They do that Common Censored podcast. Nicole, I think Graham might even take you up on that. I don't know. Graham just turned 50, so and I know he's a single dude. Graham's awesome. Again, you know, we hang out with all these guys. So what time is it? It's almost 1. It's been about 40 minutes or so. I went through a few videos. Again, everybody check out the site. It updates twice a day. All you guys that are on the Discord, by the way, like where's John? John's not on right now. Jackson's in here. Bones, there's Bones. I see Bones in there right now. Where's Mona? I don't see Mona. Mona's not on Discord. What? How is Mona not on Discord? Come on. There's Daniel. Hey, Daniel, what's going on? So you can see that everybody's in the Discord thing. So that's live, and that's pretty cool. So if anybody ever wants to get into Discord and you're not on your phone, you don't know where to go, you can always just go to the site and connect to there, and you can get into our Discord. Then again, Richie's hasn't updated since last night. This is the Richie Top 100 feed. You know, this is really messed up, and I got to talk to the people who do the paper. There is a Whitney Webb Unlimited Hangout article in here that I had set up as 6th. And for whatever reason, by the way, Glenn Greenwald and Benjamin Norton started a podcast. My Discord was a little hard to find. That's interesting. I don't know why it would be hard to find. Again, if you just go to IndependentLeft.gg, you can get into it, but you're in there now, so I see that. And then there are invites from anyone, but anyone wants to get in, just go to IndependentLeft.gg, and I set up a permanent redirect from that URL so that it's easier. You know, everybody apparently with Discords has a .gg, so figured I'd get one for me too. Chris Hedges book review for Out of Mesopotamia, Great War novel. But here it is. 10 facts from the UK government Pfizer vaccine guidance that promote vaccine hesitancy. The link doesn't say it's for Discord. That's interesting. It's funny because if you share it on Twitter, it actually does. If you no, that's Haas. I'm not going to stream Haas. You know, is he live? He's still live. He's hilarious. I stream him most of the day on the side. If I plug in IndependentLeft.gg, see, it actually does do a Discord invite. But if I take this same URL and I pop it into Facebook, man, Facebook has been running so slowly lately. I don't know what's going on with their website, but you see how long it's taking. I've got like really fast connection, but if you put this in, the preview there, it says join our Discord server right there, and it's got the old logo for some reason. Facebook is pulling the old logo. Now I've changed it to the purple logo that you probably see on my chat. But yeah, it shouldn't be difficult from anywhere. I don't know if it might have been from Insta, if anywhere. But then the other thing is that in the show, in the notes or in the comment section, the info about the this episode of this show, I have all the links to access Discord, newsletter. I actually got this pretty cool link tree. I found this, the Convo Couch did this thing called Linktree, and if you go to IndependentLeft.media, that's the way that you can find all the different links that I have. And this is where you can find Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and link right to them from one central website, mobile friendly, easy to find. So if you go to either linktree.indleft, or if you go to, is it a happy birthday? I'm 39. Oh, okay. Oh, you guys are talking about how old you are. Well, I'm older than all of you. I'm 40. I'm in my mid 40s, later mid 40s. I'm 46. Okay, so we've got some nice likes and shares, and we had Maggie Georgiana Young earlier. I was going back and forth with her on Instagram. I don't know if anybody follows her. She's really cool. She does a lot of good videos and Insta lives and stories and that type of stuff. And again, here's all the stuff that's been going viral all day about who would take her place. Anybody here? So these were the kind of tweets that went viral all day. You can see the kind of activity that we had on it. It's again so exciting. 41,000 impressions, 1,000 engagements. Really did. And again, mine was a smaller part of this. I mean, there were people much larger than me involved, and you can see some of the people that did like it. One of the likes, I will say, wait, where do I see who the likes are? So here. So if I see who the likes are, I think you guys will recognize a pretty big name there. Truth Glow, they've got 18,000 followers, pretty decent size site. But Jimmy actually liked this one, so I was pretty psyched about that. I was worried about how he was going to feel about what we're doing here, worried that we were trying to step on what he's doing with Force to Vote, which we're not at all. I'm 100% in support what he's trying to do. And I think that what we need to do to accomplish that is to get rid of Nancy Pelosi, because even if Pelosi brings it to the floor, it'll be symbolic, it'll be historic, it'll be really important, but I think we can accomplish a lot more if we get rid of her as well and we get the vote. So why not do both? It'll require the exact same amount of political capital. And again, Dr. Joe Firestone was the guy that started to kind of set this in motion. About 2 weeks ago, he went live on Facebook and Twitter and on YouTube as well. He's got a really small following, but I'm in a ton of different Facebook groups. He's one of these real progressive MMT guys also. So he's a big MMT advocate, as is Lana Dell and Ramona Masacci. Again, probably you guys are connected with some of these folks on Twitter. And this Pepper Oceana, who's been terrific. You know, she helped organize this, and she's got a team and a network of folks that she helped put this out to. It came together quickly. We organized a DM thread, and then all of a sudden people are like, hey, I'll put together the creative, and let's figure out a time that we're going to make this go viral. And then we all, as a group, put together kind of what the tweets were going to say, and what was going to be the hashtags that we were going to use, and then putting it out to a network of people via DM and privately to say, okay, help us do this, but don't use the hashtag until this time, because what we learned is that you can make something go viral. It's easier to make something go viral if it's a hashtag that's never been used before. So we were originally talking about using replace Pelosi, but that's been used plenty in the past. That's why we added the Jan 3 to it. If you notice, these two hashtags were what we use. The other thing is that Twitter tends to identify a tweet as spamish if it has more than two hashtags in it. So we decided to limit it to two hashtags. And I ended up creating, I don't know if anybody saw, but I ended up creating a ton of different tweets around this with different images like this. This is I'm just retweeting Jimmy, and then retweeting all the folks that are in the group that were sharing it. I mean, it was such a good time this afternoon to do this. I actually put this image and this graphic together in animated GIF, in static, as well as in video format to upload. So this one, there was actually a Google Drive that we all shared that had documents and images that we could pull from to use in our tweets. Again, anything as long as it had the hashtag in it. And you can see these are all the people that were retweeting it and liking it. It was awesome. And the videos that I put out, Backyard Politics, she was in the one in the evening edition. This is the early edition that you see here. This to me is the most important image and the most important post that I did. This one is show me the math. Yeah, Peter Dow used the hashtag. Okay, good. You saw that. I thanked him for that. Sick. Now, again, I heard somebody talking about that there are 2 Republican representatives now that may have COVID and may not be available for the vote on the 3rd. So that now may end up having to be 213. Or they only need 417 instead of 418 to get a speakership, which only means, again, that the power of the squad here is going to be even stronger. And I love the people that are just trying to convince you they have no power. They have no power. How so? If they can just not vote for Pelosi or vote for somebody else. Again, my idea is vote for Cornel West or vote for someone who's not in the House. There's nothing in the Constitution or no law anywhere that you need to actually sit in the House or be an elected representative in order to serve in the House. This is actually my whiteboard sitting right behind me. I drew this and I put this together the other night. It's my background on my personal Twitter page. Lana Dell, she's one of the progressives that's actually kind of sold me on MMT and brought me into the fold, along with Steve Grumbine, who, of course, was Jimmy's guest, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. He was really good. But MMT is essentially a theory that says that the U.S. government, as long as they're willing to guarantee the payments of anything that they put out, that the real property also has value. Therefore, you can essentially print as much money as you need for society to do everything that it needs to do. We can house everyone. We can clothe everyone. We can feed everyone. We can do all the things that we need to do. It's just that people need to embrace the idea that this is possible. You just have a ton of people that, for whatever reason, because they benefit from the current system, don't want that to be real and don't want that to be true. This is the other big thing that we can eliminate with Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, is getting rid of PAYGO. So again, I didn't want to make this all about like a campaign for what we were doing here, but I wanted to share how this organizing came together so quickly. And I don't know if it was Lana or Ramona or one of these folks that started to put together a thread of people that were talking about force the vote, and we're working with Dr. Joe to talking about replacing Pelosi rather than just forcing the vote. And again, forcing the vote is important, and I absolutely advocate for Medicare for all vote. And I don't want to undersell or undercut the importance of having a vote like that. We haven't had a vote like that, at least that I know of, in my lifetime. That's why it's really important that we have one. I understand, and we know that it's probably not going to pass this time, both houses. It may not get through the Senate. It will likely get through the House. It may not get through the House because there are some corporate Democrats that may vote against it. I don't want to see them voting against. I'd love to see them vote against it in a pandemic. That would be awesome to be able to primary, and we don't want to see them vote against it at all. But if they're going to, it tells us who the enemy is and who we need to primary next time. Folks like Henry Cuellar, would almost guaranteed probably vote against it, even though he had that challenge from Jessica Cisneros. We know what a through and through corporate is. He's essentially a Trump Democrat. So, yeah, Twitter rabbit hole, exactly. These are some other videos. By the way, if you haven't followed yet, Replace Pelosi, @ReplacePelosi is a new account that was created just for this, talking about they need to ditch Mitch. And again, that's using this hashtag Replace Pelosi. So that's something that was started by one of the members of this group. Just tons and tons of awesome content shared by the people in this group. This was in Dr. Firestone's slide presentation, talking about who some of the potential replacements for Pelosi would be if we do replace her. Yeah, the PowerPoints were super helpful. Debbie, personally, I think that Debbie Dingell, Catherine Clark would probably be who Pelosi would want. I think that Jackie Spire actually fits like kind of a perfect fit because she is such a staunch Medicare for all advocate, and she has friends on both sides, essentially. Barb Lee's too close to Pelosi. She wouldn't knife her. She wouldn't take away the speakership. Jayapal's too far to the left. I mean, he really goes through exactly who each one of these are. Lloyd Doggett is a physicist. They said, again, Joe says he's probably the smartest member of Congress, and he may or may not be, but he's also a little bit corporate. So you're going to end up with someone who's somewhat corporate, but at the same time, what we want is somebody who's open to killing pay-go and somebody who's open to a Medicare for all floor vote and who is in that 118. So here is Joseph Firestone. If you guys haven't followed him on Twitter, please do. Joe Firestone, PhD. See, his following is growing. His YouTube channel, he's got about 120 subscribers so far. Kana may be the most ready. I was hoping that he might get appointed the senator, and they might then they would put what's his name, the guy they appointed, Alex Padilla, in to be the replacement for Kana, even though I think Alex Padilla is from Southern California. Kana's from Silicon Valley, if I remember correctly. I'd like to see Kana. Richie Medhurst did an amazing segment about in the summertime about Ro Khanna's wife and the investments that she holds. So I've always kind of looked at Ro Khanna as someone that he says all the right things and he does the right things, but at the same time, if you're profiting off the war machine while you're railing against it, that leads me to question some things. And I kind of understand a little bit. Look, I invest in big tech while I rail against big tech, but I don't know. I just feel like there's some kind of difference there personally. But yeah, Ro Khanna, I like Ro Khanna, but there's definitely a couple of questions there. All right, we've got an hour. I love doing this. This is a lot of fun. Again, I went through five stories plus the Whitney Webb. I want everyone to go and check this out, and I don't want to move it up to the top because that's one of the cool things about this paper site is I can move any article anywhere I want, but for some reason, again, I had moved it up to the top. All right, so now it's all the way at the top. Now it's the top feature article. Check this out. Now you can see how the sausage is made. All right, and now what I'll do is I will then move up the other 5 articles before it to the top, and it will end up in the position where I sit with the mouse right now. You'll see in a second. And the other 5 stories were positioned where they were. But now it's sitting in 6th position, which is where I wanted it to begin with. So that they're going to see Whitney Webb's article, and it reshuffled and it put truth out there instead. Helicopters and police in the neighborhood. Oh, crap. All right. Nicole, Nikki, love you, Mona. Love to everybody. Dan, thanks for coming, really. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great night. Talk soon. See you in Discord.